let's look at some different situations that we might encounter when we're trying to rig our silk. So let's assume I bought a set of silks which is suitable for 8 metres, and I find myself where I now need to work at 6 metres. How can I shorten those silks so that I don't end up with too much material on the ground?
Yeah. And hopefully you're looking at not having to go out and buy a lot of other equipment to do it with as well.
Yeah.
So you can actually still use the hook, the Rescue 8, that you would use just for normal rigging, and I'll demonstrate that now. You would do it in much the same way as before, but you would take the length that you want extra. So you're wanting an extra 2 metres or something taken off of this. So you pull all of that through, take it down between the tails as before, take it back through the hole as before, and over the top as before. But obviously, as soon as you go in that's going to all slide. So what you do is you secure this end, the part you're not using, with a daisy chain. Just daisy chain the whole lot up. And take it through. And once you've daisy chained it, then obviously this knot here, the top of the daisy chain, is stopping it from pulling.
Yeah.
If you have a long enough piece of daisy chain here, you can actually take a loop from behind, put it over the top inside the connector as well, just a second.
If there's room, yeah.
Thing, so yeah.
Excellent.
That's what you would do. That was how you would shorten it using this.
I find myself in this situation. I would like to have each strand of my silks a different colour. How can I rig it so that can happen?
Yep. Again, you don't need to buy any other piece of equipment. You can actually use what you'd be using for your normal rigging. There are some considerations with this though. You've got to be careful about how you do it. So we'll go through the whole thing. If you take both strands of the fabric and cross them, we've actually used 2 really different colours here. Nice and bright, Mark, thank you. I find it easier to put a sling under, just because you're going to be pulling a lot of fabric through your Rescue 8 here. So I put this here, pull it through. It's just easier than trying to pull it through with your hands, I've found. It also keeps you identifying the middle section. So pull through, big enough loop. You're going to do as before. You're going to take it down, but you're going to take it down between the tail, between the working ends. So take it down. Now, instead of going through this hole again, well, you're never going to manage that because you've got 4 strands of fabric here, you just take it straight up and over.
Yep.
At this point, pull all of it good and tight, every single strand. Now, that in itself is relatively safe because you've got quite a lot of friction going on here. And again, make sure your ears are uncovered. You're never going to have the fabric over them. But for added security, you can either do a square knot on these dead ends here, or you can just do a series of clove hitches. So you just knot these together. I'm sure you all know how to do your knots. It's a lot of fabric to tie in a knot here. So we'll just do a section of clove hitches here, that'll be easier. Pull that one for me. And you would just do it to the end, basically. Just clove hitch your way down. And take up all of this added tail. I'm just going to stop at that because you get the idea. So basically this is securing it, and it's actually just exactly the same knot, but that's your end point here. So you've created a stopper at that point together. There.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
So you can do that. That's the first way we can do it, and that's using your existing equipment.
Yeah.
But there are a couple of other ways that we can do this. You can use other pieces of equipment to allow you to attach 2 different colours of silk. So ostensibly what you'll be doing is hanging each strand separately from either an O-ring or using a prusik knot with a sling. And we'll talk about what you have to do to rig that safely in a wee minute, because you've obviously got to spread the load at the other end. But initially I'm going to show you how you would tie it on. So the good thing about using the O-ring is you just pick where you want, how much you want to take in. So you put your connector on the live end of your fabric at the length you want it to be. You then create a slip knot, and you do that by putting your hand under it and over, taking this through the loop. Now the reason you would do it that way and not putting the holding it in this hand and putting the knot on this side is that what you're wanting is your knot as it comes in to tighten the knot onto the connector, not the tail to tighten it on. So you want it on that direction. To make it extra safe, you take this tail, put it back through between the knot and the connector, so that when you pull on this end, you're actually tightening the tail inside the knot.
Very good.
You wouldn't use this long term because this is quite a narrow thing for the silks to go over, but we'll go over that in the inspection, what you're looking for. But this would certainly do. So you'd hang one colour on each of these, each of these rings.
Two of those the same, and then you've got two separate colours.
Absolutely, and then we can discuss what we're going to attach them onto, how we do that.
Very good.
So that's one thing that you can use for connecting individual strands
Is there another
of your
sort of
fabric.
knot that you can use there as well?
Yes, so we can use a round turn, which is just taking it through one full time, and then you can then go on to a series of half hitches. So through and just keep going until you reach the length you want it to. It's always much easier to demonstrate this with rope. You can see much better what you're doing. So just again half hitch it the whole way down until you've taken up I'll just do two there, but you get the idea.
Oh, that's very good.
And again, you would hang two of these, hang a different colour in each one of these and hang it onto your spreader, whatever you're using to spread.
That's good. Show me what that looks like with a piece of string.
Okay. So with the piece of string, what you're going to do is, this is your working end that you want to use for actually performing on. So you would pull the tail through to the length you want it to be at, holding this in your working end, create a loop, take it through, and that creates a slip knot. And if you notice, this slip knot is designed, if you could hold it for me, Mark, that when you're pulling on this, you're tightening it towards the connector. So you're actually creating tension. And for extra added security, you can pass the tail through between there. And that means that the tail is now being compressed as you're on it. So that's one way you can do it. The other way that you can tie this is to do a full turn. So that means taking it through one more time. So one turn, and then you're just going to do a series of half hitches to take up, or square knots, it's up to yourself. That's what you do, until you've taken up all of this tail.
Thank you.
There you go. So either way, and then of course, as I was saying, you'd actually have two of these, one on each side, and you've taken it to the length you want it to be, and you've got to put them onto something which can spread the load, because you're not going to put these two things into a carabiner. So the other thing you can use is just a climbing sling to attach one onto each of the colours of silks that you're wanting to use. And what you would do is you would create a prusik knot. I think it's safer to have a 3-turn prusik as opposed to a 2. So in this, we're going to do it the traditional way. So you've got your loop here, you're going to bring the ends through. And I'll try and demonstrate this as wide as possible so you can see. You're then going to take it through again. And so your strands are still in the middle.
So that's a 2-turn prusik.
And then we're going to take it a 3rd turn. So we're going to go through and take it through again. Now this is actually quite good because with this particular sling, it's got the colour of the strands, purple's on the outside of it. So what you can see there is that the working ends are in the middle and the loops that are actually creating the tension are on the outside. So that's the thing that's tensioning it. Now, the reason I put the 3 on it is that it's the same as what we were talking earlier on about the double clove hitch. When you're tensioning here, you're also getting tensioning pushing inwards, which is causing more safety. So if I pull in here and you pull in this working end, Mark, it's not going anywhere. However, if I want to move it, I can release it and I can move it to whatever length I want. And again, you would put one on each of the colours you wanted and attach these to individual connectors, which are then with something to spread the load.
So now we've got two separate strands that we're working with instead of bringing it together as one silk. How would we connect those two separate strands at the top?
Yep. So obviously you're not wanting to put both of them into a carabiner.
Yep.
Because if you do that, as you say, you're
Three-way loading.
Three-way loading on it, which it's not designed for. So you have to use something that will spread the load. So we have a few things here that you can use. You can use a bow shackle, which is designed to be loaded in 3 directions. You can use a rigging plate, or as I call it, a paw. I think a lot of people call it a paw, actually.
The manufacturer
so you can
makes
use,
it. It's a trademark
so
name.
it's a rigging plate, so you can hang different directions from that one. You can use a delta mayon, because again, it can be tri-loaded. And you can use another ring, another O-ring, but you'd have to put a carabiner and go into it. So obviously you're adding to the amount of equipment you're having to, attachments that you're going to have to use for it. And then that allows you then to attach that onto one point, which you can then rig onto your swivel.
Yep.
And into your attachment, your actual rigging point.
Thank you.